Monarchy. A monarchy is a form of government led by a monarch, usually a king or queen. This role is typically inherited within the same family, passed down through generations, often to the eldest child. Prominent nations that still have monarchies include the United Kingdom, Japan, Spain, Sweden, and Saudi Arabia. There are different types of monarchies. One example is a ceremonial monarchy, where the monarch holds no real political or economic authority, such as in the United Kingdom. In such cases, the country is governed by a parliamentary system headed by a prime minister. In contrast, an absolute monarchy gives the king or queen full control over major decisions in the country. One downside of monarchy is that it may result in unqualified rulers gaining power simply due to birthright. This can often lead to a lack of democratic representation and a higher risk of power being misused. Socialism. A type of government in which workers or laborers are permitted to own property, but the allocation of goods and services is managed by a central authority. The main objective of the government is to distribute goods and services fairly, so that everyone in the nation has equal access to opportunities. Some well-known examples of socialist countries are the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Cuba. Although most socialist nations refer to themselves as republics, they generally follow the core principles of socialism, where work and property are shared fairly, and social classes or hierarchies are eliminated. One reason socialism is less favored compared to other types of government is the absence of motivation. If a person receives the same benefits as someone who exerted less effort, there may be no reason to strive harder. This could potentially result in national decline, especially if citizens lack the drive to work harder for greater rewards. Democracy. A democracy is a system where the citizens are considered the supreme rulers of the nation. Democracy is as old as human civilization itself, but was first prominently developed in the political and philosophical teachings of the people of Athens. In a democracy, it is the people who determine the leaders and the laws of the land through majority vote. It also provides an environment where fundamental human rights are respected and individuals are allowed to exercise their free will. Some of the most democratic countries in the world today include Norway, Sweden, and New Zealand. However, one of the challenges of democracy is that it can sometimes be unstable due to frequent changes in leadership. Autocracy. An autocracy is a form of government where a single individual or ruling group holds ultimate authority over an entire country. Every choice made by the autocratic leader cannot be challenged or influenced by outside forces. These decisions are final and must be obeyed by the entire population. The autocrat also maintains complete control over what citizens are allowed to do, particularly concerning their individual rights. In an autocracy, the people have no influence over national matters. Compared to democracy, autocratic systems have been around since ancient civilizations, often seen in absolute monarchies, where the king's command was the law. One more recent example of an autocracy is the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. The major downside of an autocracy is the risk of power being misused by the leader, who may eventually become a dictator. Federal governments officially divide sovereign authority between a national government and the various regions or states that make up the country. The central government remains the primary authority over the entire nation, but it grants the individual regions or states the power to manage their own internal matters. These states can have their own leaders and laws, although they are not considered fully independent countries. The main purpose of federalism's decentralization is to enhance effectiveness. This system is often used in larger nations, where it's more practical for smaller regions to handle their own governance, rather than relying solely on one central authority. It's similar to how a head coach of a sports team delegates responsibilities to assistant coaches. These assistants operate with a level of independence, but they still follow the overall direction of the head coach. A well-known example of a federal government is the United States of America. It is led by a president, but each state also has its own senators who represent their local population and manage regional affairs. However, one major disadvantage of a federal system is the potential for economic imbalance among regions. Some states or areas may have better access to valuable resources, while others might lack those advantages, leading to inequality.